Hello everyone, welcome to Beauty Mundo. I am Christina Khol. I work as a makeup artist based here in Dallas. Today we are going to be creating this gorgeous, stunning, super sultry, very good for New Year's Eve. Full glam, smoky eye. I will give you my final 2 pro tips and my final takeaways at the very end, so make sure not to miss a single second, and let's get to it. I already put on primer. This is the one that I like from MAC because it's clear. Now, primer is not mandatory, essential, have to. I only do it because I have insanely greasy eyes that are hooded and they crease. So if you have none of those issues, using concealer is just fine. For palette, we are going to be getting into the beautiful Moonlight palette from Makeup by Mario. Using a concealer is really great because it's going to brighten and it's going to take away any discoloration. A lot of people, especially on fair people, when I do makeup on my clients who are in the fair to the porcelain range, for whatever reason, you can really see the veins. You see a lot of purple, you see a lot of blue. So if you have any type of discoloration, even if you don't, concealer is just really great because it's going to even everything out. It's going to brighten and it's really going to make your shadows pop. Now that my eyes are prepped and primed, I'll be going in with my transition shade, or you usually can hear this as your crease shade because we usually put it in this inner socket area here, which in the beauty world we call our crease. So I'm going to be using this light taupey. Okay, they just have numbers, but I don't know if I'm gonna, it's like second row. It might be the EM5. I'm sorry, you guys, I'm not really sure, but it's going to be this taupey shade here. So since I'm sticking with a gray and black smoky, I want to stick with more cool tone neutrals. But I'm adding my crease shade first, my transition shade first, because it acts as my guide. It's going to act as my guide for the rest of my shadow for 2 reasons. The first is it really helps shape out your eye so that you can see where the rest of the placement of the other shadows is gonna go, as well as it's your guide for the other colors, so you know that those shades aren't gonna go higher past your transition. Your transition shade is always gonna be the color that's gonna be closest to your brow because it's neutral. I will be using a cream black as a base first. You can use a pencil, of course, but using a cream color base is so important when you really want a rich, dense color, especially when you're using something like black or maybe a deep navy or a really deep plum or something along those lines. So I'm using the one from Patrick Ta's Dimension 3 palette. And so I'm taking a small, dense shadow brush. So this does not have the same movement the way a blending brush does. We do not want that. We want this to be very concentrated. We want the black to be very saturated. Then I'll go with my same brush and use that black shadow that we have here. And really getting it on the brush. Now this is gonna have a lot of fallout. That's why typically when I'm doing my makeup, I will do my skin and face first, but because this is gonna have a lot of fallout with the black, whenever you're doing something really dramatic, I always suggest to do eyes first. And really just patting on that black and staying low. I'm only going a teeny bit above my actual lid space. I have really small eyes, so my lid space is not very large. It's easy to go above my lid. So I'll be using these two right here. This in real life looks a lot more gray. I feel like on camera it's picking up a little bit more brown. It's very gray. Same brush, same small, I want a small tight brush. When you want that precision, you want your colors to stay in place, that is when you need something really just small and compact like this. So I'm gonna go about in the middle of my eye here. Let me zoom in. About the middle here with the gray. Again, keeping it very low, not raising it into my crease transition shade. And then adding a little bit, I love that gunmetal type color. That's really beautiful, but I mean, Mario, we know he's a genius, so. And just going over it just a little. Adding a little dimension so everything's not super flat. Okay, blending with a just completely clean brush. You can, you know, if you're not someone who has a ton of brushes, totally fine to use your transition brush. But if for whatever reason I want to go back and add more of my transition shade, I don't want it to have these darker tones on it, of course you can just get a paper towel, wipe it a little clean, little, you know, zhuzh. So I'm gonna go in these buffing motions, so more of a circular motions. And like I said, this is when it's all gonna start getting married together. You start seeing it go a little bit higher into the transition shade. Now, depending on how rich and how intense you want your darker colors is going to be the measure of your blending. When I open this palette, unfortunately, I noticed that there's not really good bright silver shades. So I am going to be using a old MAC pigment here. I don't know if they make this anymore, so you'll have to forgive me, but any kind of silver will do. Oh yeah. Oh, let me zoom in for this so you can see this magical moment. Oh, baby. Yeah, that's exactly the intensity and the shade that I was wanting. I am going upward here, bringing my color upward to here so that you can see it you can see it a lot better when I am looking straight on, since the hooded eyes like to be disrespectful and hide my eyeshadow, and I'm not gonna be looking down like this all the time at the party just so people can see my beautiful eyeshadow, okay? I mean, you know, that's what you want to do, go ahead, but a little spray again. And here we go. Ooh, yeah. Notice my brush, small and dense, like I said. doing just soft little patting motions because you really want that color saturation. You want the color to be intense, and so you need to really press and get the shade intensity really packed on there. I'm gonna do a little bit on the inside and then just kind of carry that out. So actually in my waterline, and then I'm gonna blend it out. Okay, now I will add this. Can you believe this, you guys? This is the first time ever purchasing, you're gonna be like, Christy, what's wrong with you? These Stila glittery liquid shadows. Stila for the first time, so don't disappoint me, Stila. I'm gonna put that right. Okay, all right, here we go. Definitely not. Have I been like, I've been under a dang rock. Oh wow, this is stunning. And oh God, you guys, this is stunning and so easy to put on. I'm like, oh wow. Oh wow. Yeah, I was just really worried, like, is it really gonna show up? Is it gonna be intense? Is it gonna look really sparkly? I definitely think you still need to use a shadow under for sure, because this doesn't really give off much color. I really don't see much fallout. So let's move on to skin. Primer I've been loving right now is from Makeup Forever. It is their Shine Control. I like to put this just in the areas where I get shiny, my T-zone. So just a little here, and definitely my forehead. So I'll be adding in my old friend, my old faithful, our beautiful Flawless filter from Miss Charlotte Tilbury. And I like to really just do the top of my cheeks, so I have that nice glow. Since I am oily on my forehead, like I'm not gonna put this all over. Using my new Sephora brush, this little guy here. Super excited about this new brush set that I got. My mother-in-law is the best. Thank you, because my parents don't give me makeup anymore. They're so savage, and they're like, whatever, Christy, you have too much. Is there such a thing when you're a makeup artist? No, there is not. Mom, if you watch this video, there's not. Okay. I'm gonna be mixing. You know I love you, Mom. I'm gonna be mixing HAUS Labs with the Airbrush Flawless. This is really, really great. If you are going out, you want to look flawless, you have more oily skin, or you want something that's very long wearing, this is up to a 16-hour wear, and it is very full coverage. What that means is when you put it on, you are not going to see your skin. So if you have texture, old acne scars, discoloration, it is going to cover all of that. However, just be aware that when something is full coverage and it is covering your skin, it is not going to look very natural. I want like just a little bit of a glow. Another thing you could always do too is, oh, I really like this brush. I'm going in those circular motions, which I don't really recommend to do if you're not really like comfortable with blending, or you're not sure like how much to put on a brush like this with its shape, it's really best if you kind of go in downward, like larger strokes. But so, contour time. We love a good contour, and I'm just gonna go straight in because this is gonna give me a very dramatic look, and that is what I want. If you do not want that, never go straight in with the product if you're going for a soft look. You're gonna be heavy-handed, it's gonna be too much, you're not gonna know how to blend it out, it's gonna be overwhelming, and you're gonna be discouraged. So I suggest to take your brush, and you could just take a little bit, make sure your brush has some, and then you can just lightly put it on, but I want it fairly dramatic, so we're gonna just draw that line, draw that line. Again, I've been doing makeup for 16, almost 17 years. Obviously, you've been wearing it longer than that. Notice though how I did little dots here. I didn't want that really soft. I've been wearing makeup a long time, doing makeup a long time, so I'm quite comfortable with seeing myself in a dramatic look. And just remember that if you are not, go a little bit softer, especially like my nose. I do not like a heavy nose contour. Like I did down here, I don't like a heavy contour here because then it could end up looking too shadowy and almost mimic a beard. So going in really, really light, even though I still used it directly, I went in and just stippled and did like just a little doot, 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 doot. Because if there is one thing I really, really hate, it is a heavy nose contour. I absolutely loathe. I loathe it. I think it just looks so disgusting, and it looks just, obviously, hello, this look is so not natural, okay? So I shouldn't say that I hate it because it doesn't look natural, but I just think it looks really ugly. I think it just looks really ugly, and that's just it. So even though I think I have quite a large nose, and it definitely could benefit from a lot of contour, I would just prefer my nose to look like my nose and not have this really weird, crazy intense dark line going down it. That is just not my aesthetic at all. I'm gonna do some, I got this also. I'm telling you guys, my mother-in-law, she hooked it up. She like pretty much gave me everything that I asked for, makeup wise, on my Christmas list. I have been coveting these for so long because they are pricey. I'm not gonna lie to you, it's pricey. It's almost $90. That's a lot. I just think that's a lot. Is it worth it? Yeah, but it's just still a lot. So I'm like, Christy, ask for it for Christmas. Hello. I will be using this beautiful doll pink. Okay. It's beautiful doll pink. I am a huge Makeup Forever fan. They are another huge artistry brand outside of Paris. They started in the 80s. So right on the higher points, I will start adding this cream here. Oh, beautiful. Okay, a little sheer, actually. A little more sheer than I would like. And it's, I don't know if it's hard for you guys to tell on camera, but ooh, very, very creamy, a lot creamier than I was anticipating. So if you are really oily, this may not be the best kind of product for you. I don't know, we'll see how it wears. because once I put the powder and setting powder and this and that, it may be fine, but it's very, very dewy, which I happen to love a dewy look, so I'm not mad at it. Oh, very pretty. You know what, let's just try, since I have this out, let's just try some of this as like a cream contour. So let me go in here and let's see how these work. Let's see how this contour, because I love that Anastasia. I really love it. Oh, these ones are, okay, this side is pigmented. That's interesting. That's really interesting that this bronzy face side is like really pigmented, but the blushes are a lot more buildable. Powder bronzer, I'll be using HAUS Labs. Same brush, and then I'm gonna just do this first so it's not too intense on my skin. But again, that is why I can use concealer, and it's going to soften everything up. Lady Gaga just really did it with her makeup line. If you guys like are new here, I'm quite a fan. If you are returning, thank you so much. But I'm sure you've heard me say this because I am a real fan and so impressed by someone who is not a makeup artist on how great her products are. Like, she really takes the time to make sure her team develops some really good stuff. Okay, for blush also, HAUS Labs. This is her Dragon Fruit Daze. Look how pretty. Just prettiest doll pink. Very cool tone. These eyes are neutral cools. Oh. Let's just do that because I think with the cream underneath it, it probably got a little bit intense. And so let's add some of this. Actually, you know what? I forgot. I typically like to put, when my skin is still wet, like right after the foundation, I typically like to put my highlighter so it looks a lot more like skin on the wet dewy part of my face. I don't like it to look really powdery and dry. A lot of people will put their highlighter last, and I like to do it before so that it just kind of melts into the rest of the skin. I can add my concealer and everything else. If I feel like I need to add more at the very end, I will. But so this just really blends into everything else, and it doesn't look like I just slapped the highlighter on in it. It just looks all married together. So blush. Oh, it's just such a pretty blush. Oh, I wish you guys can see these bright lights just kind of hide everything, but it's just so beautiful. With brows, I have been really into using powder. I kind of go back and forth between powder and pencil, but right now I am in a powder phase, so that's what we're gonna do. Looking at where I'm more sparse first and just kind of lightly starting to sketch, creating my shape before I add the intensity to it. Typically, what you want to do is if you have blonde hair, you want to go about a shade or two darker than your hair, and then the same with light. I know on camera my hair looks black. It's not. Very, very dark brown. And if I were to use black shadow, oh my gosh. No, or black pencil, way too intense. I'll really look like angry girl. Brows, this, like, what is it, concealer? Yeah, concealer time. So I am going to use two, a little HAUS Labs, a little Hourglass. I like to use this HAUS Labs first because it is very peachy, and so it helps cancel out any discoloration, any grays, purples, or blues. It is very hydrating, and it has medium coverage. And then the Hourglass is, so I'm almost using this concealer as a corrector. So to correct any discoloration, any uneven skin tone, color. But it, like I said, it's very hydrating. My eyes get a lot more dry, so I like more hydrating products. My under eye area, just even when I was young in my 20s and later teens, it's just always been a really dry area. So I'm just doing, again, like little pats so it can lightly, like when I go up here, I'm doing more of a blending, and then here I'm pressing and patting to get that coverage. Now with the Hourglass, so this is the one that has a lot of coverage, but if you can tell, the shade is a lot more in the vanilla family, so a lot more yellow. It's gonna be a little bit brighter because it is a very light shade, but if I only wore this by itself, it would just, it would look like lighter shades of gray. This is why if you have any darkness, any blue, purple, gray, anything like that, you need to use something that's gonna cancel out those colors first. Using a really light concealer by itself is not going to do it. And then this has a ton of coverage, so I only like a very little bit. And then it's a little bit more on the matte side. It is not nearly as hydrating as the HAUS Labs. Okay, now it is time for some powder. For setting powder, I've been loving the one size, but it is extremely matte, very dry, so a little goes a long way for me. Not much. I don't really use very much. So let's go in with, I can just do it lightly with my foundation brush. I don't see a little powder puff here at the moment, and I don't feel like looking for one. So just a little bit, and then I'll kind of tap off some excess first. Let's do another one. Can you guys see that floating around on camera? It's a lot. So just like in this upper area here where I tend to get shiny. Okay, should we do lashes before lips? Yeah, let's okay, let's do some lashes. I'm gonna bring out, I have this, how cute is this little case? And it holds a few lashes. So I am going to choose, I think these are actually my wedding lashes that I have not worn since. I'm trying to remember where, all my lashes always drugstore, so I know they're drugstore, but what type that I got because I really, really, really like them, and I don't remember what I used. So I'm sorry, no link for lashes, but let me get some glue, some tweezers, and mascara. You always want to put mascara first so that your lashes have something to grab onto. So let me grab those things first. I'll be using some black glue since this eye look is so intense and I just don't want to have to worry about going over when it's clear. Sometimes it can look a little white. It's a little noticeable. So just adding a little bit of glue. And a big tip, one of the biggest tips, okay, two big tips I can give you as a makeup artist for putting on lashes is the first, pick a lash that really goes with your eye shape and your eye size. A lot of people I see who have really small eyes end up getting these really huge lashes and it looks horrible. Just, there's no other way to put it. It doesn't suit you. Or if you have big eyes and you're trying to pick a lash that's just a little bit too small and doesn't fit your eye, most of the time though, you can cut lashes if they're a little bit too big. Always cut from the end, never cut from the inner corner. And the second is, make sure when you are putting on this glue, you give it a little bit of time to dry. You never, ever go from putting glue on right onto your eye because this needs to set a little bit. I like to give it at least maybe 30 or so seconds for it to get a little bit tacky. You can move it around. Just make sure it has a little bit of that tackiness. If it is too wet, it is not going to stick and you will have so much trouble trying to put on your lash. Now for lippies. Where are my lippies? Okay, I'm first gonna go in with, do I have enough? I typically like to put some foundation to kind of cancel out my natural lip color. So especially with the nude, I don't really need to do it with the red, but or bolder colors, but with nudes definitely. I'm gonna be using the Makeup Forever Artist Color Pencil in Anywhere Caffeine. Just start early here. I want the main focus to make my lips look fuller here. I do not get fillers, so I need all the little tricks I can get. So really concentrating here, and then when I do my lip liner here, I don't need it like, I just kind of lightly, like I don't have to really go in with so much pressure, but just a little more dramatic in the center. And then same here with my Cupid's bow. I like to go a little bit over. This is like perfect for a nude lip. Just a teeny, I mean a teeny bit over, but not too much because I just think it looks really ugly and ridiculous and just super obvious that it's not your lip shape. We just need to, in 2025, can we embrace our features more? Can we just do that, myself included? And then just kind of lightly go into the corner. So this is Velvet Teddy. I'm gonna add this all over. Such a good staple. Now, if you are on the fair porcelain side, this may be too dark to be considered a nude. Maybe more of a neutral, but definitely too dark to be considered a nude. And obviously, if you're any deeper than me, the deeper that you are, the more nude this will look. Then I'm gonna go back over with Max Cork and just kind of intensify. See, if you just kind of press, the lip liner will really end up where you want it anyways. Just really more in the center to make it look a little fuller, but not too, I don't need it too dark and too intense here on the sides. And then I'll be adding, this is Max Boy Bait, a staple for any of my OG MAC girlies. Oh, it's such a good nude gloss. Right in the center. These are, they're called Cream Sheen. And so it's just a very light sheen. It's not a very thick, it's not a thick gloss, so it's not gonna give you a ton of color. But oh my God, look at that, it's so beautiful. Oof. So pretty. Oh my goodness. Okay, we are almost ready for our final reveal, so stay tuned. Okay, friends, here's the final look. Little zoomy zoom on the ojos. My two takeaways are going to be, remember when you want a very intense smoky eye, you need to add a cream base. Doesn't matter if it's in a shadow form, a pot, a pencil, doesn't really matter. But add a cream first so you really create the intensity before putting on the powder shadow. And then if there's going to be any shimmer in your look, make sure that you add the shimmer last so that it doesn't dull out the intensity of the smoky part. So there's for your two takeaways. And that's all, folks. Can you believe it? Thank you so much. 2025, here we come. I'm excited. We'll see what the new year brings, but thank you all. I love you so much. Thank you for subscribing, and I will see you in the new year. Mwah! Toodaloo!